and welcome back. I want to talk about something very specific in this video, something that I see everywhere, and it's a behavior that people do. I'm going to call this automaticness. People's automaticness. It seems as though people strive for all aspects of their life to be automatic. And another word that is sort of related to this would be routine. You see, the more you develop your life into a routine that is predictable day by day, the more automatic you become in that routine. The less thought, the less awareness you have to put into what it is that you need to do to accomplish all your tasks. Now, this is good if you want to be really efficient at something, but it's also really good if you want to miss a lot of things in your life and you don't want to question anything. I have to say that again. It's good if you want to be efficient, but it's also good if you want to miss a lot of things in your life. You see, people who spend most of their lives in developing routines and becoming very automatic in their routines lack oftentimes the awareness to analyze what it is that they're doing, whether it is good or actually not. Not necessarily good for another person, but good for you. In this automaticness, we will look past so many aspects of life. Like, am I too tired living the way I actually am? When you're living in your automaticness, you can turn off a part of your brain or minimize its function so that you don't need to be as aware of your thoughts and your criticisms and the things that would bring a bit of light into your life situation. And when I say light, I mean, are you actually living the way you should? Are you actually happy, I mean? Or are you just tuning out those types of thoughts and putting all your effort into just becoming so automatic that you just go through the motions day by day? It's a very dangerous way to live, a very sleepwalking sort of way to live. The more you do something, the less you need to think about it. Even more accurate, the less you need to be aware of the pitfalls, the dangers, the benefits, and so on of this automatic behavior that you're doing. Let's say you drive a car, for example. The first day you're driving the car, you need to really be aware and you have to start thinking about every little detail. And this takes an enormous amount of energy and effort because you have to be really there. You have to be really aware to make sure you're not missing anything. And what happens after a certain amount of time, your body becomes efficient. So you don't need as much mind power to do that same task anymore, and you can start to daydream all of a sudden. And I'm not saying people daydream in their automatic life. What I'm saying is your brain, the amount of brain capacity, attention that is required to do that task now is minimal, and your body works on automatic. So what happens in this situation is that you develop a way of doing things, and then you call that who you are. That's who I am. That's just the way I do things. You see, the more you become automatic in your day-to-day life, the more difficult it becomes to change any habit. And oftentimes, many people will develop a automaticness in things that they're doing, and they stop at a certain point where that automaticness isn't quite really that good. You might have poor driving habits. In other aspects of your life, maybe you have this habit of not being safe when you're cutting, and you keep cutting yourself when you're using a knife. Or there's so many different examples a person could use. Maybe in my case, maybe picking up heavy objects. And this is something that I'm now training training out the automaticness. So got into this habit of picking up heavy objects, and I have a tendency of hurting my back because the automaticness, if I let it go, I just want to pick up heavy objects and just go. You see, I don't have to think about it anymore. I don't have to consider whether or not I should pick up 4 bags of wood. My body is in a more of an automatic state for that type of example that I'm using. Not that, and like I said, now I'm working on reversing that. But when you make your whole life into this automaticness, just the same way that I hurt my back by following that automaticness, you will hurt your own life. Many people get to the end of their lives saying one of their number one regrets is not taking enough time to do the things they enjoy in life. And why? That's because you spend so much time in your automaticness. The more it becomes a habit, the more it becomes ingrained, just like smoking a cigarette. It becomes almost an addiction at a certain point, and stopping that automaticness in you can be very, very difficult. So what it is that we do, we look past it and we justify by saying, this is the way I am, because change is difficult. So we justify by saying, this is who I am. And to take it even one step deeper and worse, you can say that's just how life goes. That's what life is all about. That's what life is. And I hear that a lot. People saying, that's just life. Train yourself to be automatic and work yourself into the ground until you have no health left, hoping, and that's a whole other video, you hope that by the time you retire, you made the right decision. You don't even think of it at that point. You made that decision a long time ago. So you live in that hope that once you retire, you'll be able to now live the way you want to live. But you don't realize that you've developed a whole lifetime of automaticness. What happens when you have all this free time now? You want to work. You're bored. You don't know how to live any other way. You cannot enjoy your actual, unless you have a lot of hobbies and you've developed that into your life, and that's not an automaticness. But once you get to that age, you don't have the health anymore, no energy. You're spending a lot of that money that you saved on medications to deal with the problems that automaticness has caused. Just as I mentioned, like my low back, for example. None of us are beyond levels of automaticness. Some of us are into it more deeply though, and that's the whole video. It's not just to say that you're doing something right and I'm doing something right, or you're doing something wrong or right. It's not about comparing other people's lives to yours. It's so that you can look into your own existence, your own day-to-day reality, and say, how much do I live my own life in a sort of daze, a sort of fog, a sort of just living automatically through the routine because you don't need to be as aware. A lot of people think that using that brain power that you need in order to develop a new skill, people feel that that's exhausting. So they shrink under their thinking into this automatic way of living. So this video is to encourage you to look into your life and find the areas that you're being automatic, and to bring more awareness. To break an automatic behavior, you don't need to do anything other than to be aware of the automatic behavior. In my case, by noticing and being aware, and I've been aware of many of my automaticnesses, the more you're aware of them, the more they sink into your conscious and not deep into your subconscious. The more you make your automaticness conscious by just noticing, being there while you're doing it, being aware of what you're doing while you're doing it, eventually it becomes so heavy into your conscious that you can't carry it anymore. You can only carry burden and behaviors that hurt you in your unconscious, which from there they spill out into your day-to-day, they drip. This shows in anger, frustration. You close yourself off. You don't want to listen to anybody else. You become closed-minded. But the more you notice your automatic behaviors, the more you'll see them in others. And this can also bring you closer to other human beings because you realize that now I'm like them too. You can't say anymore that I'm like this and the people that aren't like this are wrong, because you notice that you're like that too. They're like that too. It's just different versions of automaticness. I noticed this whenever I was... Actually, before I ever studied any kind of spirituality, I've been observing this in people and in myself. Even though I've allowed some automaticness, we all have some, but I've always been the curious type. And after getting into spirituality and learning more about the human body, the brain, I used to be a health and wellness specialist for 13 years. Using that information and observing my own patterns, I started to see that a lot of those automatic patterns is not really something that I want to be doing. It's just something that I'm doing to distract myself from the feeling of being alone with my thoughts a lot of times. Or you recognize that if you don't be automatic, you're going to be different than others. A lot of people are afraid to be different. And this will prevent people from looking into their own behavior and seeing whether or not they should change. So they perpetuate this automaticness because they don't want to be criticized. For example, if your whole family is automatic, you don't question anything, you just go through, your day-to-day with them, and everybody, you go to work 9 to 5, you don't think about it, blah blah blah, you just do your stuff. You get injured, you pop a pill, you don't think maybe I should not do that as much. Maybe the pill is just masking it, and maybe when I get into my 70s and 80s, the pill ain't going to be enough anymore. Maybe I'll need 10 pills just to counteract the side effects of the 3 that I needed, because all of that automaticness in my life destroyed not only my mental health but my physical health. You see, and then if your whole family is popping 10 pills, then it's okay. You see, it's whatever. This is life, and you can justify that by saying that's how life is. And then all of a sudden, because you and all your family do that, you can simply just avoid to look at the truth and say to yourself that that's how life is. Because all the people around you are living in that way. Why would you question it? Family might be really important to you, and you don't want to lose that connection you have with your family. So you allow that automatic behavior. You allow yourself not to look deeper into the parts of your activity, the parts of your life that you would change if you were to look at. You avoid looking at things to the point that you wouldn't change. But if you do start looking at the things that you do in your life, deeper into them, bring them to your conscious, you would definitely change a lot of aspects of your life. When we live in that automaticness, you become what a lot of people are called the sheep. You just follow the crowd. Because for a lot of us, it's too painful to change. You're going to lose friends, you're going to lose family, and so on. Because not everyone is ready to see the truth of themselves. Not everyone is ready to see the truth. But my question for you is, are you ready to see the truth? Are you ready to look at yourself and question whether or not I'm just allowing myself to be automatic? Am I running away from something? Do I know deep down in my subconscious that I'm doing things that I don't really want to be doing? And justifying them by saying that's how it is, so that you can turn away, and using hope for your retirement as a fuel to continue not looking at it because you feel something good is coming. I just have to stay on this path. I just got to keep going. The good is coming. How many people have you seen in your life that they get into their retirement age and they actually are not happy? They may be happy when their family comes to visit, But besides that, if you really ask and start talking to these people who are in retirement age, they're not happy. Their life did not go the way they thought it would. And when they look back, because that's all they have to do now is to look back into their memories, when they look back, they see all those opportunities that they brushed aside their personal truth, the thing that they knew they really wanted, and they recognize that now they can't do it anymore, either because of the physical limitations or the mental limitations, their health and so on. Maybe everybody around you is still so automatic that you thought you'd have time for your family and to hang out and to do all these things, but everybody's still automatic. So now you're stuck alone with yourself and your thoughts. It's something to think about. How automatic are you in your life? And is it worth bringing that to the surface? Be aware. The way to break the pattern is to look at what you're doing while you're doing it and be aware. An example, I can simply, here, I was going to grab an object. You don't even need an object. I can just do this. How many times have you just opened your hand to pick something up? You really need no awareness almost at all to just go and grab. But what if you did it carefully and just be aware of, the hand opening, the 5 fingers, and reach and grab something? If you were to do that, just even open your hand in awareness versus just opening your hand and closing it, you're going to feel a completely different quality there. You might even feel a slight restfulness that comes from being aware. And the more you become aware of the things you do in your life, the more restful and at ease your nervous system will be. You'll start making decisions that make sense now. I could go on, so I'm going to just stop the video, leave you with that. So wherever you are around the video, or wherever you are around the world, whatever time it is that you're watching this video, thank you, thank you, thank you. Peace.